Bournemouth fans, and welcome to Cherries YouTube channel. And this latest video, the latest AFC Bournemouth Weekly, we're going to take a look at the top 10 breaking stories coming out of the club in the last 7 days. But first, are you a subscriber to Cherries yet? Please help us get to 500 before that West Brom game. Also hit the like button if you like the next 20 or so minutes, and hit the notification bell because that'll let you know when new content is out. But let's get my guest on. It is Jacob Tanswell from Dorset Live on this week's AFC Bournemouth Weekly. Hi Jacob, thanks for joining us on Cherries Army.
No problem, Kirk. You okay?
Yeah, not too bad. And just tell us a bit about what you're going to be doing for AFC Bournemouth and how can people follow you?
Yeah, so on the 29th of July, obviously I'm not quite sure when this comes out, but Dorset Live will be going live. I've done 25 pieces, compiled them over the last 2-3 months, learning about everything about Bournemouth, just my living, breathing, sleeping AFC Bournemouth. And on the 29th of July, it will come out. I will be following the team up and down the country, going into press conferences, post-match, writing in-depth pieces, exclusives, interviews, basically anything you supporters want, I will try my best to provide it.
And I'm already following Jacob Dorset Live, and Cherries Live will also be part of that, I'm sure. And you can also follow the details in the description, get onto Twitter and do check it out. But let's get on with the AFC Bournemouth Weekly and the top 10. Just come back from that pre-season training in Spain, Jacob, and that's Jaidon Anthony showing he's in a position to try and prove his worth this season. And with those wide areas not fully covered, has he got a chance?
I'm a massive fan of Jaidon Anthony. I've known a few of the guys at Bournemouth, and I've spoken to a few of the coaches, and they say he is the guy from the academy. And they feel if he doesn't make it, then they've got to look at themselves in the mirror, because Jaidon Anthony's come from Arsenal a couple of years ago, flew through the under-18s, been excellent in the under-21s, and now he stepped up into the first team, and you saw him in pre-season. He looked right at home, didn't he? And you've got to say, against MK Dons or against West Brom coming up, he has to be one of the players considered in the starting 11, especially after pre-season where he just looks so full of energy. And just, I don't know about you, Kirk, but just really refreshing to see a young player coming into the team and making a stamp straight away.
Yeah, we saw glimpses last season. We saw what he could have. I suppose the key thing is, Jacob, to not put too much pressure on him. But obviously there will be pressure on the club because we do need to try and do well to give ourselves half a chance.
Yeah, I think I've just put a little bit of pressure on him, but he is a talent. But I think if they can get another wing, I think Junior Stanislav's extension, which we'll come on to, is crucial, because if them two can dovetail, share minutes, throughout the course of the season, I think that will certainly ease the pressure on Jaidon.
That could be one to watch then, Jaidon Anthony this season. Phil Billing, a man that grew into the AFC Bournemouth hearts last season, some absolute goals, worldies. His stats were unbelievable, and every time he scored for AFC Bournemouth, we didn't lose a football match. And he looks like he's going to reject a deal to go to Norwich. They don't look like they want to meet that valuation, and he could be a big part. That number 10 role could be his in Scott Parker's team.
Yeah, I've actually just wrote a piece on Philip Billing. I talked about, especially in pre-season, in the Granada game as well. He was often the vocal point for the pressing. You saw that they were sat in shape, and Billing, who sometimes for me he looks like a little bit of a lackadaisical figure, very languid, loose body language. He was closing down. He was pressing the centre backs. He would press, and the whole team would follow. And I think he's going to be a really key player this season. You've heard about Philip Billing being impressed by Scott Parker's methods, and I think he's the type of player that if he can buy into a manager's system, way of playing, can earn the trust of the manager, I think he's an asset for a team, especially like Bournemouth in the Championship. And for me, he belongs in the Premier League when he's on form.
Another one to watch out for Philip Billing, hopefully in a Bournemouth shirt next season. Seemed to go on forever. It was like the longest medical of pre-season. Asmir Begovic confirmed as an Everton player. I'm sure we wish him all the best. He did very well for us last season, 17 clean sheets, but we knew it was coming. We knew his wages were quite high, and we're in a situation where we need to look after those finances. Woodman's off because Newcastle have a goalkeeper issue, and potentially Peacock Farrell is on. Jacob, can you sort of make the most of all of that?
Freddie Woodman at the moment it looks unlikely, but I wouldn't rule it out just yet. I think in football things change, and Bournemouth have always been hopeful. I think they're still optimistic of Freddie Woodman. Obviously, we understand the news about Kyle Darlow. He spent some time in hospital, and we wish him all the best. But I think that there could be, things could change. Newcastle could get another goalkeeper. Dubravka's injury he could come back quicker than expected. So I would, hold out a little bit of hope for Woodman. In terms of Bailey, Peacock, Farrell, Bournemouth have got options. There was never going to be just Woodman or Travers. They had other options, but one of them options, could be Peacock, Farrell, but also Mark Travers. I see a lot of things on Twitter. He splits the fan base, but Bournemouth and Scott Parker are really big admirers of him. He's impressed in pre-season. He's got a great attitude, great work rate, and I think if they went into the first game of the season with Travers, I don't think Scott Parker would be nervous or in doubt anyhow.
Do you know, the thing is with Travers, Jacob, I probably stuck up for Travers for 2 seasons now, and actually when he made the error in the Blackburn game, I said persist with him, don't drop him. Obviously it was the right decision to go with Begovic in the end. I feel like Travers is running his line now with leaning on that Tottenham performance, and it's almost becoming a bit of a freak performance. And for me, I'm looking at Travers as almost a replica of Rocky Ryan Allsop. And I'm not sure now whether he's going to cut the mustard at the top. And I do fear that we needed our goalkeeper to bail us out quite a lot last season, and our defence might be slightly weaker. So I'm back 50-50 on Travers now. Is that how you see it?
I think there's something that's quite important to understand. I've spoken to a couple of people in the club, and they often think Travers needed a proper loan. I know he went to Swindon, but then he got cut short, and just a loan to, make him more mature, to grow a little bit. I think coming in, he came over from Ireland through the academy. Eddie Howe often had a thing of he didn't really want players going on loan, and he wanted to keep them at the club. And for example, the likes of Jack Simpson, they're 24, 25, and they've not really made that many appearances in first team football. So I think there's a little bit of doubt and a bit of regret now at the club that Travers didn't go on loan quicker. So I think that's something to bearing in mind, because if he does go on loan, I think there could be a future for him at the club later down the line. But Scott Parker, at the moment, he can see Mark Travers coming into the team right now, but he might be probably better suited coming in 1, 2, 3 years time.
Is Diego Rico potentially Spain bound, going back to Spain? And that would leave a little bit of a weak area at left back, because I do think Lloyd Kelly is going to be trying brought back inside a centre back. Every manager who comes in since Eddie Howe has tried to turn him into a centre back, but Lloyd Kelly's best performances were at left back. But in pre-season, he is starting at centre back, and that could leave a player like Jordan Zamora, Jacob, as our only left back option.
Yes, I think Lloyd Kelly's been captain, hasn't he, as well? So Scott Parker clearly sees him in the heart of defence. I think he probably will turn into a centre back, similar to what John Stones did in a way. He was a full back, but then he's got a similar body type to Lloyd Kelly, quite tall, good on the ball. And I think at centre back, if he can just have some games there, he will be a very good player there. Zamora left back, brilliant going forward, isn't he? You've seen that in the pre-season games. He's vibrant, and I think probably wing back suits him better because he's got less defensive responsibilities. But it looks like Scott Parker's going to play 4-3-3. So going into the season with Zamora as your first choice left back, it's a little bit of anxiety there. But what about Adam Smith? This is my question to you. I know a lot of supporters obviously much prefer him on the right hand side, but could Smith offer the experience there?
I'm not a fan of Adam Smith on the left. I'm a big fan of Adam Smith. I love him, but I find him very frustrating on the left, especially in that last Premier League season that we had before relegation. I do find that he receives the ball facing our goalkeeper, and it's too easy for him to go back to the centre back. When he's on the right, generally he receives it on the half turn and he starts to bomb on past halfway. I'm not saying he can't do a job at left back. Of course he can, and there's always that good option. It's like a Phil Neville in your football team, isn't it? But I wouldn't want him as first choice, and I do hope that the club may be bringing a loan or something to cover for Zamora to maybe be a squad player.
But all I have to say is that last season I was watching a little bit of Fulham, and Scott Parker did moonlight a few people at left back. So I think Bobby De Cordova-Reid went there once. So we might see something completely out of the ordinary. See someone like Junior Stanislas go there for one or a couple of games. I wouldn't rule out something a little bit funky.
And that will definitely split the fan base, I know from previous experiences. Clark Harris, striker at Peterborough, now in the Championship, and a position that a lot of fans are talking about that we look like. Now, AFC Bournemouth fans know that I don't think that Dom Solanke is a natural number 9 striker. I love Dom Solanke, but I don't think he'll get 20 goals. He didn't last season, but he definitely will contribute and add value to this team. Sam Surridge is a player that comes off the bench and is direct, and we will have an impact throughout the season. But we may need a goal scorer, and Clark Harris scored 31 goals, 27 years of age, 3 assists, and almost Ivan Toney. I mean, Jacob, is there potential that AFC Bournemouth can get a deal like this, and is it probably going to cost about 10 million?
There is certainly potential to get a striker. You look at the options available to Parker, you think, okay, he's playing 4-3-3 at the moment, but for example, if he wanted to play a variation of a 4-4-2, then who would partner Solanke up front? Would it be Surridge, or are them two too similar in terms of their stature, the way they play? I know there's Jake Scrimshaw coming through, who's very, very hungry. I know he went on loan a couple of times last year, but he's really, really hungry to get some first team minutes this year, so that he's someone to watch out for. But if they can get Clark Harris or a striker of his ilk, then I think that will give Parker options. But for me, Solanke, there's something in there that I don't think he's got out yet at Bournemouth. There's just something that you see, like Gareth Southgate, he rates him really highly from the under-21s, even into the first team. And Parker's style of football should give Solanke more opportunities now, being at the focal point, having the trust of the manager, which he didn't always have under Howe because he had Callum Wilson and King. He's the main man now. They're not playing pragmatic football, or they aren't expected to play pragmatic football. There should be more chances, and I expect Solanke to score a lot more goals this season. But they do need some depth and some competition for him. Sam Surridge has been good, but can you trust him to be the backup striker or even dovetail with Solanke up front? We don't know yet because he's not exactly proven at this level.
But historically, 20 plus goal scorers do give you a really good chance, and generally teams do really well in getting to the Premier League with that. Not always, because Patrick Bamford didn't, we know that. But I will set Dom Solanke the same challenge I set last year. Can you get to 20 goals? Is Junior Stanislas. He followed suit. He joined Smudge, signed a 2-year deal. And interestingly, with this one, Jacob, it was delayed. He didn't sign the deal that was on the table before the season finished. Now, is it a case that not a concrete offer didn't come forward for him at a club that he wanted? Was it a case that we couldn't fill that wide positions with Roro going out and likely Danjuma as well, and it was just best for both parties? It's a bit of an interest in that one.
It is, I think, whenever a player comes to the end of the contract and it looks like there's a new era coming, wasn't there, with Jason Tyndall and Jonathan Woodgate going. I think it's natural for a player like Stanislas, who's been in for so long, to explore options elsewhere, to maybe have a little think with his family of where he wants to end his career, his last big contract of his career. But Bournemouth have throughout, with Scott Parker, before Scott Parker, they've been really, really keen to keep him. They see him as a vital part of the team, especially that experience in the Championship. He knows how to get promoted, and you look at that team now, it's very youthful at the moment. You saw him pre-season, and having someone like Stanislas, I know he had an altercation with Sam Surridge last year, and he might not look like the quintessential leader, but off the pitch and what he does and how he mentors the young players, especially the likes of Jaidon Anthony this season, I think could be really a massive asset to this team.
But there is a question mark in whether Stan can replicate what he did last season. It was probably his best return as a pro footballer. Lots of goals, assists, penalties as well. But will he want to be a bit part player? I mean, what is his role in this new Scott Parker team, do you think?
I don't think he'll want to be a bit part player, no. And I can see him pushing for starting 11 berth, but he's getting a little bit older now. The Championship's a long slog. There's cup games to factor in, so I think he'll understand as well, and I'm sure Scott Parker's made it clear in them contractual discussions that his place isn't guaranteed, and I don't think he would want that either.
AFC Bournemouth take on Chelsea, Jacob. This is great for the fans, and obviously the first real test, even though it's still pre-season friendly.
Definitely. Am I right in saying that the last game of full capacity was Chelsea? Or have I read that somewhere else?
That's a good question. If you know that, put that in the comments, because I can't remember. I want to think that Crystal Palace was our last game at home, but I really can't remember. It's so long ago in COVID. Liverpool was definitely the last game away, and Crystal Palace might have been the game that was cancelled before COVID shut everything down, actually. So let us know in the comments, but a good question from Jacob there.
But if it is, then it's a perfect cycle, isn't it, to come back round? I think it's going to be interesting. I think for fans as well, Bournemouth had a great history of welcoming big teams. I remember I went to the Real Madrid game when was it, 7-8 years ago? That was fantastic. I think for a fan base that has been long deprived of football, to see their team back with all the supporters around them, but also having the European champions, is going to be a great occasion. And they get to see Scott Parker. It's always exciting to see a new manager, see what he does, see some new players, the youngsters. It should be like a really, really optimistic atmosphere, regardless of the result or even the performance.
And if there was something playing on this game, we'd probably win, because we do like to beat Chelsea at Dean Court, and hopefully David Brooks likes to go against Chelsea as well. So interestingly, enjoy the game if you're going as well, but that is a friendly on Tuesday night. First competitive fixture of the season in the Carabao Cup, and that is against MK Dons. Firstly, Jacob, get your thoughts on that, because I think Chris Mepham might be missing because he'll serve his suspension from Brentford. I think I'm correct in saying just a one-game suspension as well, because it was just sort of a professional foul. But also the news of Andrew Sermon, club legend, took us through the rise to the Premier League. An ultimate professional. Looks like he's hanging up his boots.
Yeah, I think in a way for Chris Mepham not to be suspended is probably the perfect really game for it, isn't it? Because he's coming back late from Wales Euro 2020 duty, so he probably wasn't going to be involved anyway. Get his red card out the way, and you give a chance for whoever plays centre back. It's going to be Lloyd Kelly, but who's going to play centre back next to him? I'm sure we might discuss that later on. And in terms of Andrew Sermon, he's been just fantastic, hasn't he? But I remember I watched him at Southampton. Model of consistency, just the way he evolved his game over the time. He started off as a winger, little tricky Adam Lallana type of a winger, then he went into centre midfield, and that partnership with Harry Arter was just fantastic, wasn't it? And the Sermon and Arter pivot was what all the academy used to model them on. They used to send clips out to all centre midfielders, centre backs, of Sermon receiving the ball with his body shape, his technique, and he's been a fantastic ambassador for the club. And if Bournemouth can find a way of giving him a great send-off, like they probably didn't do with Simon Francis and the other great club stalwarts that have gone, then I think that'll be really fantastic and much deserved for Sermon.
Taking a look at that potential lineup then, Jacob, I mean, what does Scott Parker do? This is the last game before West Brom, the opening fixture of the Championship. I mean, some positions might pick themselves, but when you look at that centre-back position, we don't know what's going on with Steve Kirk. Lloyd Kelly might be captain. I mean, who comes in and plays alongside him? And some of those other positions, does he go very youthful? I think
there's a natural tendency to just think, I'll play the youth. But for Parker, I think he probably want as close as the starting 11 for West Brom as he can. Just build them partnerships, build them connections, see what works. It's like an early season trial in a way for the West Brom game. Sam Sherrin, he's a player that I know quite well. I'll be hopefully speaking to him in the next couple of days, next couple of weeks, and he was fantastic out on loan last season. He's a real leader. He's got a great mentality, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see him next to Lloyd Kelly next week. He's very good on the ball. He's strong, and he's been a captain throughout the age groups. So him coming into the team against MK Dons in front of a full capacity at the vitality won't phase him one bit. So I do expect him to partner Lloyd Kelly at the back.
At number one, it's going to be a bit cheeky actually, Jacob. I was going to say, any breaking story you can drop on Cherries Red Army, or is it a case of head over, follow you on Twitter, and we'll find out?
At the moment, we've just got, unfortunately for us all, we've got to sit and wait. But I do know that Bournemouth have been very close on a couple of occasions now to getting a couple of deals over the line. Not quite happened yet, but I do expect some movement in the next couple of days, maybe a week, but I do expect someone to come in or be incredibly close to coming in the next couple of days.
And could we get a couple of score predictions off you, maybe for Chelsea on Tuesday and the MK Dons game?
Chelsea, I haven't got a clue, because you don't know what team Thomas Tuchel's going to put out. You don't know what team Scott Parker, although you've probably got a better idea. I I went to Chelsea v Reading last year, and that was a 3-3 or 4-4. So it could be something crazy like that. And I do expect Bournemouth to score a couple, but also ship in a couple. So hopefully it'll be entertaining. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. MK Dons, I think it should be relatively plain sailing for Cherries. I'll probably go 3-1 for that one.
It's been great to have you on, Jacob, on this AFC Bournemouth Weekly, and we hope to have you on again at some point throughout the season.
Of course, no problem.
We'll definitely look out for all your AFC Bournemouth content coming from Twitter and breaking news as well. So cheers for that. And thank you to the fans for currently joining us on this video. Make sure you let us know your thoughts in the comments. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and join us on the next video. But from me and Jacob, we'll see you soon. Up the Cherries.